Good day, gentlemen. The honeymoon phase with your girl is over, and now is arguably the most critical time that will decide whether your relationship thrives or dies. I know this because I've successfully gone through this with my girlfriend of now over 7 years, and I'm a relationship coach, and I've seen this with countless of the men I work with. I'll be honest, man, the honeymoon phase takes zero skill. Just like the first 6 months in the gym, you have no idea what you're doing, but you're still making noob gains. And then you hit a plateau, and training and eating like a beginner simply doesn't cut it anymore. The same happens in relationships. After the honeymoon phase, love alone simply isn't enough anymore because you haven't even faced any real challenges yet. And I know you're thinking, no, Benny, we got this. We have such a good connection. We're so in love. Sure, and that's great. But I was just as naive as you are when I was in your position 6-7 years ago. And trust me, man, beginner skills will not lead to a deep relationship. I'm not saying this to talk down on you. I'm saying this because I wish someone had told me this when I was in your position, because it would have saved me and my girl from a lot of pain that almost broke our relationship. As always, I won't waste your time, so here are the 4 biggest mistakes I see men make after their honeymoon phase ended and how to solve those mistakes. Let's go deep. Mistake number 1 is trying to be right instead of trying to be understanding of her. And this just can't work when you're in a relationship with a woman, and I'll tell you why. Here's the thing, fights will happen after the honeymoon phase, more and more. And that's actually a good sign, despite what everyone tells you. Because what fights show is that you two trust each other enough and are confident enough in yourselves to actually disagree, to actually say what you mean, instead of people pleasing each other or pretending you don't care. But what most men never understand is that 95% of arguments in relationships don't happen because there's an actual problem, but simply because she doesn't feel understood, loved, or seen by you. And you've experienced this yourself, where you had an argument with her, and then in the middle of the argument, you realize, wait, there is no problem. Like, what is the problem here? What are we even talking about? But then there is a problem because now you've already said hurtful things to each other and now you're hurt. In situations like this, it's crucial that you as the man use your innate sense of discernment to see whether there is an actual problem or not. And that you use your humility to admit to yourself that maybe you haven't been showing up to her in the best way and haven't been giving her the care and the attention she deserves. And that's why she's upset. Her, as the woman in the dynamic, is most likely more at home in her feminine energy. And this has nothing to do with traditional gender roles or anything like that. It simply has to do with the fact that she is more at home in her emotions rather than her thoughts. Her words are the sound of her emotions. And so sometimes, when she doesn't feel understood, when she feels unloved, unseen, she might start a fake argument simply to get the attention she wants from you. I want to tell you about one of the men I've worked with named Jeff to make this way more clear for you, because Jeff really struggled with holding space for his girl in this way and with this emotional maturity. And I want to tell you how he overcame that, because when he came to me, he was already with his girl for around a year, and this was at the end of 2024, which was a great year for him because he had already realized that there are 3 big areas in life. I can't really do a 3 with my gloves, so I'll just do like 1, 2, 3 here, but it's cold as hell. It's like -3, -4 degrees, but we're gonna do this video anyway. So number 1 big area of life is health. And in terms of health, Jeff lost 20 kg or like 44, 45 pounds that year. In terms of wealth, which is area number 2, he landed a fantastic job. And in terms of relationships, which is area number 3, he just wasn't really going anywhere. And he was actually doubting his relationship to the point where he thought, hey, maybe I have to end this relationship. So I worked with Jeff for the next 3 months. And if you're curious about his transformation, you can just pause the video and read this here. But anyway, even after Jeff realized that his girl starts these arguments not necessarily to want to change something, but simply because she doesn't feel seen and heard and loved by him, he still struggled to give her that attention and that care during those fights because his emotions would get the better of him. He often took things personal and struggled to stay grounded in what's actually happening, what they're actually talking about, right? What's actually the problem here. And still, with the exercises I gave him that he could do in his own time, he was able to deepen his emotional maturity, to be able to sit with more emotional discomfort, and through that he was then able very soon in these arguments to simply stay grounded and stay relaxed and hold space for her and give her what she was actually asking for, which is that care, that attention, feeling understood. And he also learned to make her feel seen and loved and cared for more throughout the day in random moments, which then led to her feeling more seen, feeling more loved, and having to start less of these fake arguments. And look, man, a lot of couples, they never solve this and they still stay together, and you're like, well, it does work for them, right? Well, here's the thing, man. It always eventually comes back to bite them, because a relationship like that isn't fulfilling. And sooner or later, one of them, or maybe even both of them, will want something more, something different, maybe even someone different. And this brings me to mistake number 2, because what else starts happening after the honeymoon phase is over? Well, life starts getting in the way of your relationship, of love. And for most men, especially driven men like Jeff, like me, most likely like you, it's difficult for us to switch between work mode and relationship mode. What am I saying here? I'm saying that your goals and your woman need a different side of you to flourish. Most men, they treat their woman and their relationship like everything else in life, without even knowing this is a problem. Their brains are constantly thinking about their projects. And I myself have struggled with this massively, because I've built multiple businesses. And for anyone who has ever run a business, you know that your thoughts about the business basically never stop. And this is the same with everything else in life, every other big project like training for a marathon or building a house. I had to learn to overcome this once I realized that 1 hour of completely undistracted, fully present time with her will fill her cup so much more than 10 hours of time together where I'm thinking about other stuff every once in a while. I experienced this a lot when I would, for example, go to the mountains with my girl and not really be able to be there for her fully, still thinking about my work. And she would actually get sad in those moments because, again, she didn't feel seen, she didn't feel loved, she didn't feel understood. And I wasn't able to turn my brain off. And then, of course, I wasn't even able to enjoy the hike, because physically, sure, I was there, but mentally and emotionally, I was somewhere completely different. And she didn't feel me in those moments. This gets especially tricky, of course, when you move in with each other, as Jeff and his girl did, because then you don't just spend time together anymore on dates that you've planned and carved out of your busy schedule, but actually now you're around each other a lot more in random day-to-day moments. For Jeff, he even built a business in the middle of all of this, but he learned to switch between relationship mode and work mode. He learned to also be honest in a loving way about when he had capacity for relationship mode and when he just wanted to work. And so he learned to cut through the noise of day-to-day tasks and duties and simply be fully present with her. And despite what people might think, what this led to was him and his girl spending actually a lot less time together. Because, again, 1 hour of fully present time... Sorry, I have a beard hair in my nose. There we go. Again, 1 hour of fully present time fills her cup much more than 10 hours of undistracted time. And so when he would spend that conscious time with her, she wouldn't continue asking for more and more time. And so he was actually able to work much more and reach his goals quicker. And he was actually able to focus on his work because he wasn't constantly having these negative thoughts about his relationship anymore, constantly overthinking whether he should be in this relationship or not, constantly getting distracted from his work. That didn't happen anymore because his relationship now was actually rock solid. But another problem most relationships face after the honeymoon phase is over is that sexual desire for each other goes down and down and down. And most people will tell you this is completely normal, but I'm here to tell you I disagree. Because think about the kind of people who tell you that this is normal, who tell you that it's normal for relationships to get a bit less passionate, all this stuff. Are they satisfied with their own relationship? Are they even in a relationship? They're not where you want to be, are they? So why are you taking advice from people who don't have what you want? These people do have a point in the fact that sex is very easy and free-flowing during the honeymoon phase. But their sex life didn't go down after the honeymoon phase ended because this is normal, but because they never learned the skills to sustain and even deepen sexual desire for each other after the honeymoon phase. And this leads me to mistake number 3. Because think about it, do you get worse at anything the longer you practice it? Of course not. The longer you practice basketball, the better you will get. The longer you run a business, the better you get at running that business. And the same is true for relationships and sex. But of course, people are conditioned these days, because this is everywhere. Everyone says sex goes down. People are conditioned these days to believe that that's not true. But why would you get worse at sex? The longer you do it, the longer you get to know each other sexually, the more you get to know each other's needs and desires. Of course, that initial novelty and all that wears off, sure, but that's not what makes a great sex life, brother. Every single person I've talked to who is actually fulfilled by their relationship and their sex life will tell you that it just gets better and better and better. So what did these people do? Well, they learned the skills to have a skillful relationship and a skillful sex life long term. So what does that actually look like? Well, let me ask you this. Why was sexual attraction so great when you got to know each other? It wasn't just novelty. It wasn't just excitement. It was because you and her were still very different from each other. And what happens when you put two different magnets close enough together? They shoot together because they're attracted to each other. And the same exact thing happens in relationships. We call this sexual polarity, like the two poles of two magnets or of a magnet, right? And so what happens here is this is the attraction between the masculine energy and the feminine energy, which again have nothing to do with traditional gender roles and everything to do with which energy you and her embody and where you are on this spectrum. I know this sounds a bit woo-woo, a bit out there, but you've already experienced this, because if I tell you to imagine two different women and I ask you which one you're more attracted to, woman number 1 is elegant and flowing and radiant, and woman number 2 is structured and rigid and disciplined. Which one do you feel more attracted to? Of course it's number 1, because she's more different to you. That's why you're not sexually attracted to your friends, for example, because they're probably a lot more like you than your girlfriend is. And so mistake number 3 is becoming too similar, too much like each other. People do this because they're afraid of their differences, because differences can lead to conflict, and I get that. But differences are actually very good, and I'll go into why that is and the whole conflict thing in a second. But firstly, if you become too similar, you're just like two same magnets and you will repel each other. And that's not what you want, is it? So instead, we need to embrace and cherish these differences in each other, because everyone has a masculine and a feminine side, and that's good. It's a spectrum between masculine and feminine, and everyone has a point on that spectrum where they feel most alive, most like themselves. And the closer you get to each other on that spectrum, if you're too close to each other, that's when you feel like roommates. That's when you feel no passionate love, no passionate desire for each other anymore. Look, you've been given these differences for a reason, and I'm not just saying that because of sexual attraction, but also because differences lead to you and her complementing each other, like two puzzle pieces. You fit together. You have skills and traits and qualities that fill each other's gaps, that make life together much more possible, much more easy, because suddenly things that you don't really want to do are maybe things that she loves to do, and things that she doesn't want to do are things that you love to do. And suddenly you're not just more sexually attracted to each other, but actually life becomes easier together than without each other. So your mission as her partner and her mission as your partner is not to change each other, but to help each other be yourselves as much as possible, to help each other develop yourselves into the exact person you truly want to be. This is what Jeff meant when he talked about leading properly, because this is what maturely masculine leadership truly is. Now, we've arrived at mistake number 4, which is by far the most dangerous mistake I see men make after the honeymoon phase is over, because I always keep the most crucial, most important lessons to the end of these videos, so only guys like you who are actually driven to improve themselves, who don't just watch 2 minutes of this video and then click on some bullshit entertainment slop, only guys like you get these lessons. And so mistake number 4 is thinking that what got you success in business, in studying, in sports, will also get you success in relationships. This is one of those traps that I fell into myself. And honestly, I only really realized this in the last 2 years, because I'm far from perfect, of course. Sure, I have a great relationship. Sure, I've helped many people, but I'm still very motivated to learn myself. I read books every single day. And so this is one of those big lessons that I learned, honestly, rather recently. And if I had learned this, fucking hell, 6-7 years ago, man, I don't know where I would be today, but far, far further than I am right now, that's for sure. So let me tell you about this. Look, if you've built any level of success for yourself, then most likely you built that success from what I call dark motivation. Negative self-talk, fear, shame, guilt, pride, jealousy, envy. Those are the emotions that drive us towards success at the start. And they get us to a certain level. They got me to a certain level in health and in wealth. But it won't get you where you truly want to go in terms of health and wealth. Because sure, you might have all that success, but you're not able to enjoy it. Chris Bumstead, the bodybuilder, he talks about this a lot, how he was driven by these things a lot at the start of his bodybuilding career. And even the first couple wins, they didn't feel like success. They felt like a relief. And then he learned to actually operate from light motivation, which then led to him not only winning more and having better success, but he was also able to enjoy it. And in terms of relationships, operating from that dark motivation won't get you anywhere, because your woman, just like my girl, they will close themselves off to us when they feel us operating from this dark motivation, from this negative place, because then we're not trustworthy. They don't want to be around this energy, which makes complete sense. You don't want to be around people who constantly beat themselves up, do you? But the thing is, she has much more of a sixth sense for figuring out when you are in that state than you have with other people. And I will say, brother, this can be incredibly frustrating, because for me personally, my girl got incredibly good at calling me out on this bullshit, mostly indirectly. She got incredibly good at intuitively knowing when I'm in that state. And yes, this can be frustrating, but also, really, she is a guiding light that shows me where I'm not being my best self. Really, she's helping me reach the next level in my growth, in my development. And she's giving me a challenge, which helps me grow, which helps me develop into who I truly want to be. Because as David Data said fucking masterfully, the masculine grows by challenge. So really, this is a gift from her feminine to my masculine, or your masculine. Wow, the fog is moving up this hill right now. Let me show you this. This is epic. Holy shit. Let me actually, wait, can you see this here? Yeah, you can. The fog is moving up this hill. This is so cool. Let me do a quick 360 here. Yeah. Wow. Fucking incredible. All right, let's continue with this video. I just need to line up the camera here again. Anyway, let's go deeper on this, because I want you to fully understand this. I want you to fully learn why this is so important. Because, let me ask you this. How could you ever treat her lovingly and maturely and from a kind-hearted place in a moment of chaos, a moment of conflict with her, if you can't even treat yourself kindly? I'm German, by the way. Sometimes my English is a bit fucked. But yeah, how could you treat her well if you can't even treat yourself well? And for most men, these are small day-to-day moments. Holy shit, this fog is moving up this whole valley right now. This is so cool. Anyway, I'm a fucking geek about nature. Don't mind me just staring at fog. Anyway, for most men, these are small things. Let's get back to the topic here. These are small things that we don't even notice during the day, right? For example, I recently filmed one of these videos, and in editing the video, I realized that I didn't get the exposure perfect. And I was beating myself up over it and like, dude, like, you've done this for so long. How did you not get the exposure right? Now I have to adjust the exposure. Now the image looks a bit cooked. And then I realized, brother, I'm filming outside. The lighting changes, as it does right now. The fog is moving in front of the sun right now. So of course the lighting changes. Why did I beat myself up over that? Brother, the The amount of negative self-talk that most men go through in a day is fucking crazy. And 90% of it is completely unconscious. We don't even notice it because we've gotten so used to it. But here's the thing, because this is such a massive part of our day-to-day lives, there is also a massive opportunity for growth for us personally, but also for our relationship here. Because what would happen, let's put it like this, your life is already pretty good. How much better would it be? How much more would you achieve? How much more loving could you be to your girl if you were able to flip even just a small part of this negative self-talk into positive self-talk? I'll tell you what happens, because I was actually scared of this, and you might be as well, because we think subconsciously, well, if I am kinder to myself, I will lose my motivation, I will lose my drive, and my life will go to shit. And I'll be honest with you, some of that, for me, did happen when I made that shift, but only short term. Long term, over the last couple of years, holy fuck man, my life has changed. And I was able to enjoy it. And how I'm able to show up for people now, how I'm able to show up for myself, how I'm able to show up for my goals, how much more energy I have, how much more drive I have, how much more I have to give. And the results of all of that are fucking incredible. Brother, my girl tells me multiple times a week how grateful she is that I am so much more compassionate, so much more loving, so much more understanding of her, and how that helps her be the best person she can be for me. There's a reason why states like courage or love or acceptance are so much higher on the map of consciousness by David Hawkins than states like fear or shame or guilt. To break this down very simple, because this is a massive concept and rabbit hole, and I don't want to dive into that too deeply now, but simply put, the higher on this map of consciousness a state is, the more energy we have in that state, the more we have to give, the more we can give towards our goals, the people around us, to ourselves. And of course, this makes sense, right? If we look at, let's say, for example, anger is higher than shame, which makes sense. When we're angry, we have a lot of energy. When we're ashamed, we have very little energy. But then when we're accepting of ourselves, when we are at peace, when we are loving, we think, because that the world made us believe this really, right, that we would have less energy, that we would have less drive, that we would just become some monk who would sit in the mountains and just meditate and don't do anything with his life. And that is not fucking true. Brother, there's a reason why the greatest people in history who have actually moved this world forward in a positive way were operating from these higher states of consciousness, like peace, like love, like reason. Reason, that's the scientist's realm, right? Einstein, Newton, that's reason. But even higher than that, enlightenment, Buddha, Krishna, Jesus Christ. They didn't act from fear or shame or guilt. They didn't act from dark motivation. Brother, this is the hidden lesson in Star Wars. The Jedi, light motivation, versus the dark side. Why did Anakin Skywalker turn into Darth Vader? And yes, I'm a bit of a Star Wars geek. Just let me geek out here for a moment. Why did that happen? Well, he was afraid of fear, right, of losing Padme. He was angry at the world, at the Jedi. And so these negative states of consciousness, these lower states of consciousness, this dark motivation drove him toward the dark side. And what drove him in the end? I hope you've seen Star Wars. If you haven't, what are you even doing? But in the end, what drives him to actually help Luke? Love for his son. Simple as that. And the thing is, this sounds so out there, but everyone can get there. For Yef, who I mentioned earlier, this brought everything together. This is what true emotional maturity looks like, and everyone can lead from that place. So brother, learn to be kind to yourself. Not in this modern, hippie, self-love way, but in a maturely masculine way. Not in a way that leads you to people please, but in a way that leads you to forgive and uplift yourself so that you can do the same thing for her and for other people in your life. And look, right now, all these lessons I gave you in this video might still sound a bit overwhelming, right? Being understanding of her instead of trying to be right. Effortlessly and easily and quickly switching between work mode and relationship mode. Embracing and cherishing your differences so your sex life thrives. And learning to be kind truly to yourself so you can truly be kind to her. It's easy to understand these, but applying them in moments of emotional chaos, in moments where life just feels overwhelming, is much more difficult. but I promise you, you can get there, because I did. But I also want to warn you, you feel all accomplished right now. You feel on top of the world because you've just watched this 20-minute video of this guy giving you so much value. You've just learned so much. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. But brother, you haven't done anything yet. You haven't changed anything yet. Your relationship isn't better yet, and you know it. But if you're the kind of man who isn't satisfied with mediocrity and you want to transform your relationship, you really want to take it to that deeper level, then listen up. Because I'm gonna offer you my help, and I'm gonna explain to you how you could literally be talking to me personally. Jeff, who I mentioned in this video, is one of the many men that I've already helped make this transformation. And what I offered all of these men was that they could apply for a free alignment call with me personally, which is also what I'm going to offer to you right now. But this is not a free coaching call. My time is too limited for that with all the men that I work with who need my help. Instead, it's a call where we can have an honest conversation about where you want to take your relationship and what is holding you back from taking it there. This helps us essentially see whether you are a good fit for my mentorship. And if you are, then we can figure out all the details of how I can help you from there. If this sounds valuable to you, then stop procrastinating, stop sitting around, stop messing around. Click the link in the description of this video, fill out the application, send it in, and if it looks like you are qualified to actually work with me, then you will be forwarded to another page and you can instantly schedule your free alignment call with me right then and there. Brother, you know I can help you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have watched this entire video. So don't let this opportunity pass you by. Because if I do decide to take you on as a client, then your life and your relationship is about to change forever. I'm excited to talk to you. I'm excited to help you massively transform your relationship, to take it to that higher level. So go fill out that application right now, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.